Hey everyone, it's Mark Hockman here from PC World, and we are at AMD's headquarters in Taipei, attending the Computex show, where we're getting a little bit more information about what AMD announced this week, the Ryzen 9000 series, as well as the Ryzen AI 300 series. I am here with David. David, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everybody, I'm David McAfee. I'm the General Manager of our Ryzen CPU and Radeon GPU businesses.
Okay, so the idea here is that we're going to talk a little bit more big picture stuff.
All right.
Adam Patrick Murray did an interview with Donnie Woligrowski earlier this week, sort of talking about sort of the technical stuff. So the idea is we're going to sort of talk a little bit more big picture, although I probably will have to dive down a little bit into the technical details at some point, just because it's just me.
I would expect nothing less.
Exactly. All right, well, let's start a little bit just from a sort of a big picture macroscopic view. It seems like, and this is my perspective, over the past few years, AMD has done a great job of catching up and even achieving leadership performance in CPU. But the rules have kind of changed. I mean, right now, AMD or Intel and Qualcomm are emphasizing low power and AI. Give us a sense, and I know you're going to tell us a little bit more, about how, hey, the TDPs and the Ryzen 9000 are actually quite low, but just give us a sense for how you think you play in the market, what your strengths are relative to your competition.
Sure. Look, I think that it's a super exciting time right now in the PC space. There's so much innovation that's happening. There's so many things that are changing. Like the introduction of the NPU
That's right.
into notebook processors, the new capabilities that brings, just opens up a world of possibilities for how the PC platform is going to change over the next couple of years. And as we think about it, in Lisa's keynote earlier this week, we talk about our 3 core engines really driving that experience. Having great CPUs, great GPUs, and great NPUs is really core to building the best notebook platforms, which is what we aim to do. What I'll say is with our next generation Ryzen AI 300 series processors, it's got Zen 5 CPU cores, it's got RDNA 3.5 graphics, it's got our next gen XDNA 2 NPU core architecture, and so we're really putting the best of everything we have into one platform. And what that means in a notebook is not just performance and capability, but also power, like you said. Like, you've got to have that scalability across a wide range of power envelopes, depending on how your OEM partners want to build a platform. Sometimes it's really important to have a super thin and light platform that's ultra quiet. We can enable that with the Ryzen AI 300 series platforms. Or somebody wants to build a creator notebook that's more scalable. We've got quite a bit of scalability in terms of our TDP or power envelope for the platforms as well. So I think as we look at it, look, that NPU is going to deliver fantastic power efficiency when it comes to running those AI workloads that are always going on in the background to enable functionality like the recall function and Copilot+. But it's also about having those great CPU and GPU cores to deliver great gaming experiences or creator experiences or whatever somebody wants to do with their next-gen PC.
So let's stick with mobile for a moment.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to know a little bit more about, what's the estimated battery life with the AI 300 parts?
It is really dependent on so many choices on the platform.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, I understand.
And I think when we look at this generation versus prior generations, we've made a lot of enhancements in terms of architectural efficiency of the design and the platform, new power states. I think as we talk about our XDNA 2 engine versus our prior generation NPU for AI processing, it's 2x more efficient.
Right.
So I can't tell you specific battery life today because it depends on so many choices about screen and power envelope and battery size and those things. But what I will say is, pound for pound, we've got a really efficient mobile processor here that's going to enable long battery life depending on whether you're doing AI or productivity workloads or pushing performance a bit more.
All right, well, let me try to pin you down a little bit on that, though, because, I mean, again, Qualcomm's talking about, all day, that's 24-hour, multi-day battery life. Is that going to be, is that comparable for what the AI 300 is going to offer? And as a sort of a corollary question to that, is that what customers are asking for? I mean, do people really need a 24-hour battery life if they're going to be working an 8-hour day?
Some days I feel
I
need that. Sometimes I feel like I'd rather not have that as well.
Right.
But what I will say is, if you look at our past history of battery life performance and you know the leaderboards of delivering great battery life in systems, AMD is right there at the top. Our 8040 series mobile processors, which are the last generation before the AI 300 series, deliver best-in-class battery life in a wide range of platforms.
Okay.
So we're going to leave it to the OEMs as we get closer to launch to talk about specific battery life claims, but I'm certain that we're going to have fantastic battery life on these platforms that meet the needs of what users really care about, which is a great blend of power and performance for a wide range of use cases.
And idle power, how is that going to compare to previous generations? Sorry, I'm getting
No,
nerdy.
again,
Yeah.
like getting into the details, lots of architectural enhancements and new power states to drive down idle power, to give you longer battery life. But you know where we've always excelled is our efficiency when you're under a full load, and I think this generation will be exactly the same thing. Very efficient when you're getting work done, but also having that great idle power floor to go back to.
Okay. So I have to ask you, did you sign off on the naming scheme? Because man, that is a difficult one to remember. I mean, if I'm trying to talk it over with my family over the dinner table, I'm going to have to pull out my notebook and so forth. I mean, is that who made that decision?
There's a lot of thought that goes
every
into
word is in there, right? You got your Ryzen, you got your AI. Okay, sorry.
I think that one of the things that we certainly felt very strongly about in this generation is this generation is a big step forward in terms of AI performance. And so bringing AI into the naming scheme is really important, right? Ryzen AI signifies that this is new and different compared to every other Ryzen processor that's been available in the past, and even our first and second generation Ryzen AI PCs. Like this is 5x more performance than we've delivered in the past. So I hear you. Yeah, there's a lot of things in that model number, but I think the core is having a strong association with AI and what this chip is capable of was really important as we put the model numbering out there for this generation.
So you have 50 tops in the NPU. I mean, that's higher than your competition. But is that just a number, or is that going to translate into some sort of real world performance in some capacity?
Yeah, I think that I'd go two ways with that. Number one, as we start out in this era of Copilot Plus PCs, Microsoft has talked about 40 tops or more is what they need to run those experiences. But again, as Lisa and Pavan from Microsoft talked about it on stage, there's always a demand for more tops as a part of these platforms because let's face it, AI has been moving so fast, and I think even as these experiences start to come into the Windows platform and the next generation Copilot PCs, we're going to see a constant evolution. There's going to be new ideas that come into the OS. There's going to be new ideas that developers come up with to use the NPU to enable new functionality in their applications. And our opinion is the more tops you have as a part of that platform, the more flexibility it gives you to drive new and advanced experiences as a part of how AI will evolve the PC experience.
But if those tops weren't there, would you see stuttering in your experience? I mean, what would be the negative? What would be the negative experience if I didn't have enough tops?
Sure.
If those tops weren't there?
We've worked very, very closely with Microsoft as we define this generation of silicon to make sure that all of the parameters, and that's maybe one of the most important things. Tops is a really important metric, but there's also factors around bandwidth, around data type support, around many, many different things that make a great AI PC experience. And checking all of those boxes and making sure that you have a very well-rounded NPU to deliver that Copilot experience that Microsoft has envisioned as a part of this generation requires not just a one-dimensional look at that NPU, but really across multiple facets.
So a question about those experiences, actually. I mean, I know that it seems like all three chip vendors are doing whatever they can to work with software ISVs to try to deliver those experiences for their particular platforms. And honestly, when I see all that, when I see the evangelism, when I see the development work is being done, it harkens back to things like the phrase marketing dollars, and that's in Taiwan, of course, that has some connotations attached to it. But I mean, really, what you guys are trying to do is basically collect influence, right? I mean, you're trying to convince developers that the Ryzen platform, the Ryzen AI platform, is the best for AI. So how do you go about doing that?
I mean, it is truly about building an ecosystem because I think that no matter what industry you're talking about, whether it's creators or gamers
Right.
or productivity applications or the core interface of the PC that Microsoft delivers, I think we are going to see so much change over the next couple of years as AI becomes a part of how you use a software suite like Adobe to edit photos or videos,
Sure,
or
sure.
how you play a game and how AI translates into better NPCs or AI upscaling or frame interpolation. Like there are many dimensions about how AI will transform the experience over the next few years. And like honestly, if I were to try to guess at what those top 5 are going to be, I would probably get it wrong because it's all going to move so fast on it.
Right.
But what I think is really important is this is an ecosystem, right? And it starts with great developer tools. It starts with having platforms available in market that developers can get their hands on. And it also involves making it easy for developers to port their applications and their software to take advantage of what we're putting into hardware. Like in many ways, if you think about the journey we've been on in Ryzen, and I'll pivot to the desktop space a little bit,
Sure.
but when we introduced the first Ryzen processors, we radically increased the core count. And it took some time and developer education to move from single or lightly threaded applications to
Right.
things that could take advantage of an 8 or a 16 or a 32 or a now 96 core processor, right? And I think AI will be the same thing, where you will see some things that happen very quickly, where developers have been thinking very hard and working on bringing these new AI capabilities into their software ecosystem.
Sure.
But that's going to be something that just grows exponentially over time as more and more software developers see the benefit of what AI can do and see the benefit of low power and just massive compute potential that's a part of our next-gen AI PC platforms.
So Ryzen AI 300 ships in July, is that right?
it does.
Okay, and the 9000 ships in July as well?
Our 9000 series desktop processors in July as well.
Okay, so you guys are going to be shipping months before Intel. I mean, Intel is here talking. You guys are, well, talking, but you guys are close to shipping. I mean, we're talking about
We
a
are
month away.
right around the corner.
Exactly.
Yes.
So how do you capitalize on that opportunity? I mean, you guys are honest, arguably have a leadership position in terms of availability.
Yeah, and truthfully, the way that we think about it is this is just the next step on our journey, right? This is our 3rd generation of processor with an AI engine integrated into it. Certainly, the 300 series has far more capability than the past couple of generations.
Right.
But as we talked about, as you saw from some of our guests, ASUS, Lenovo, HP, there's some awesome designs that they're working on that again, span that range of ultra thin, ultra portable to creator to gaming systems. And I think what it means for AMD is, look, you've got to start with the foundation of building the best chips that we possibly can and putting the best capabilities into those chips. And then the next step on that journey is building amazing platforms that people want to carry around. Thin, light, long battery life, great performance, low noise, all of those things are really important to pulling the value of that silicon into a great platform.
Sure.
And then 3rd step in that journey is building out all of those AI experiences. So it kind of ties those pieces together, right? Yes, we've got great silicon. It's coming in market very, very soon. We're making those investments in building amazing platforms and co-engineering those platforms very deeply with our partners. And then that investment in the AI software ecosystem is just going to make those systems more and more valuable over time as those software developers catch up. So I think this is, for AMD, a super exciting time, a very exciting opportunity, and one where I think we're going to really be able to put some great platforms in market that just create a bunch of traction for us.
Now, in talking, you're always in touch with your OEMs. You've got 3 vendors, frantically, heatedly competing for places inside of notebooks and desktops and so forth. Is there a situation, do you think, that are there a finite number of designs to be split up across these 3 vendors? Or just give me a sense for how your relationship is with those vendors. Is there going to be an odd man out, I guess, is one question I want to ask too.
Yeah. I think the truth is, it is hard to say how the revolution that's happening in the PC space will change that dynamic with our OEM partners. Certainly, I think that over the past couple of years, we've seen even the notebook space. Like you go back 5 years or even a little bit more. Creator notebooks didn't exist,
No,
right?
absolutely not.
And so I think what you've seen is even in the notebook space, things have evolved as end user needs have tailored to more sort of specific, refined designs for what people want to do. And I think if you look at the landscape market today, there's clearly this segmentation between the ultra thin and light platforms, the nearly silent platforms, the highly portable platforms on one end,
Right.
the gaming systems on the other end that actually go from thin and light gaming all the way up to big thick notebooks that are
Exactly.
desktop
Yeah.
replacements.
Right.
And then Creator, again, looking at some of the things like partners like Asus are doing with their ProArt systems, where you've got very rugged systems that are designed to be outdoors and very active lifestyle systems, but built for somebody who's capturing and editing videos and really turning it into a creator output. So I think that there is certainly an opportunity that what's going to happen over the next couple of years with the diversity of silicon coming into this space, the new AI experiences coming into this space, is it just creates more opportunity for unique platform categories to get created that honestly we haven't dreamed up today.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the desktop. Let me let me paint you a picture. It's the future. The sun is a dying ember. The earth is a charred husk ravaged by AI wars between robots and so forth. And AMD is still releasing AM4 processors.
There's still desktops there. There's still AM4 there and AM5.
The human resistance is dependent upon an AM4
AM4
socket.
desktops.
Is that going to? I mean, how long is this going to? I mean, how long do you plan to support
It's a
this?
beautiful story.
Yeah,
It's a
I mean, it
beautiful
is.
story.
I mean, you just keep extending the roadmap. I mean, what's the limitations there?
I think the reality is our AM4 platform
Right.
has had an amazing run.
Right.
And it will continue to be a vital part of our desktop portfolio as long as the market wants those solutions. What I would say
That's
is
a long time.
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
but the truth is, many times we in the U.S. look at things through a very Western-centric lens, and look in mature markets that are buying the latest technology. Many of those have moved on to AM5 and DDR5 memory, and
Right.
next generation storage and memory. But there's a lot of parts of the world that are looking for very cost-effective solutions, motherboards that are great in price, processors that deliver great price per dollar. And like the way that I look at it is, as long as there is reasonably priced DDR4 memory in the market, we'll continue to supply that market. And I think that it may not be everywhere in the world, but there will certainly be places in the world where AM4 will have a home for many years to come.
That's interesting. So DDR4 would be a gating factor for AM4
Absolutely.
longevity?
I mean,
Interesting.
AM4 is built on DDR4,
Sure,
right?
of course,
And so
right.
I think that as the DDR4 memory life cycle plays out, that will really determine affordability of that platform, and
Okay.
and at the end of the day, performance per dollar for many buyers, whether it's somebody who's buying a more entry-focused PC or it's a business user, they're first and foremost looking at productivity per dollar or performance per dollar, and AM4 represents a really interesting choice in that equation.
That makes sense. I mean, I haven't heard any manufacturer sort of talk about the rest of the world, I guess, region for a while. And so it's interesting that you guys are planning to support that. It's a market that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Truthfully, the desktop market is a very, very global market that has unique attributes in the way it operates in Western mature countries versus the way it operates in more emerging markets.
Right.
And I think those dynamics make the desktop market a really, really interesting place to be.
I do have a question, though. I mean, with the Ryzen 5000 processors you announced this week for AM4, I mean, you could make the argument the existing Ryzen 5000 parts are basically have been lowered in price over time. What's the need for why the need for
Why
these two
refreshing?
additions? Yeah, why refreshing? Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good question. What we have seen is it's not necessarily about bringing next generation core technology
Right.
or anything like that. What we're doing as this platform extends further and further into time is it's really optimizing around the supply that we can deliver to the market, the price points that we can deliver to the market, and optimizing the total solution cost there. So for us, introducing new Ryzen processors into the desktop market is about just putting the best price performance solution we can,
Sure.
and something that we can supply in volume for as long as the market demands it.
So the Ryzen 8000G had AI, the Ryzen 9000 does not.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, the truth is that desktop market is segmented as well, and there are certain parts of the desktop market that care a great deal about power efficiency, performance per watt, and the 8000G processors really come from our mobile portfolio.
Sure.
So you'll see a lot of synergy, looking backwards as well as looking forwards, between what we do in the mobile APU processors to then how that translates into our desktop systems.
Okay.
So that 8000G, places where our APUs are incredibly successful is people looking for small form factor PC, mini PC type systems, commercial systems where they care a great deal about noise and heat and performance per watt, and that's where the 8000G fits. The 9000 processors, 9000 series Ryzen processors are more for those enthusiast gamers, the creators, the people that are looking to push the envelope in terms of performance and capability. And I think one of the things that's really important as a part of this, and maybe a nuance about AI and AI compute, is, if you think about it, our 8000G processors had a 10, 15 TOPS NPU as a part of that platform.
Exactly.
Our Ryzen AI 300 processors have 50 TOPS of performance. But like when you scale up to a desktop system and you plug a high performance discrete graphics card into it, you're getting hundreds or thousands
Absolutely.
of TOPS as a part of that.
Yeah, most
and
definitely.
so, we even see, if you're doing things like LLM or stable diffusion models, the amount of time that it takes to generate token rate or seconds to generate an image, going from an 8000G NPU to an entry discrete graphics card to a high performance graphics card, there's no comparison, right? You have so much more compute power in that high performance desktop system with a discrete GPU. And I think the truth, as we look at it, is those people, as we think about the creators and gaming enthusiasts that are buying, that we hope will be buying 9000G processors, they're going to be pairing that with a big discrete graphics card. They're going to be playing games, or they're going to be, doing inferencing or AI development on that system, or they're creators. And many of the things that software developers are going to create around AI are likely going to start as GPU capabilities first that eventually migrate to the NPU.
Makes sense.
So I think there's a place for both in the desktop space, and I think the two complement each other just depending on where a particular user is in terms of what they're doing and how they need to use their PC.
So Ryzen 9000 introduces Zen 5, which obviously next generation architecture, IPC improvements. You can talk a little bit about that. I actually wanted to ask you about the possibility of Zen 5C, which seems to be sort of the next evolution of that. Assuming that comes down the pipe, do you have any sort of time frame for when you would push that out the door?
Yeah, we didn't really talk about Zen 5C as a part of the disclosures at Computex.
Sure.
And I guess just for everybody that's listening who may not be familiar, in the Zen 4 generation, we had our classic cores,
That's right.
kind of the high frequency design, and then we had the Zen 4C core,
Right.
which was really more about cloud optimized.
Not
or
an
compact.
efficiency core necessarily.
Not
just
an
right.
efficiency
Yeah,
core. I mean, they're
right.
completely ISA compatible.
Right.
Really, it's about how compact or cloud optimized that core is in the server space, or compact it is in the in kind of a client desktop or notebook space. And I think the two really kind of each had a unique space where they fit in different parts in the market. The server space, for instance, going from high frequency servers to really scale out high core count servers, Zen 5C or Zen 4C played that role of being the sort of scale out as the ability to put more cores within a given area. And I think you saw us in some of our notebook processors in the 8000 series use a blend of sort of classic and then Zen 4C cores to get to a much tighter area optimization around the overall core complex.
Lower TDP too.
Lower TDP, because they're ISA compatible, there were lots of benefits there. So that design philosophy is something that we believe in very strongly. And while we're not talking about it today, certainly that C core is a part of our strategy going forward.
Okay. So you're claiming that the Ryzen 9000 is the best gaming CPU for right
Yes.
now. Okay. Would you think that it would a top end Ryzen 9000 outperform a Zen 4 X3D part?
So it is a very, very title dependent
Okay.
answer.
Sure.
So the truth
Nothing
is,
wrong with that
no.
necessarily, yeah.
The truth is, if you look across the entire suite of games that people play, there are some games that respond really well to X3D and
Yep.
the low memory latency and all of those benefits that it provides. And there are some that don't care about X3D at all.
Right,
That's
right.
just the way those games are written.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think when we look at the performance of the 9000 series desktop processor, that 16% IPC uplift means you're really getting a lot more gaming performance across the board. Now, you're not going to see those super high highs and kind of the flat line on different games, but on average, like they're really kind of hitting pretty close to each other. And the 9000 series processors not only kind of deliver that great gaming performance that you see in the 7000 X3D, but also for everything else you're doing, single-threaded, multi-threaded, productivity applications, that IPC uplift kind of raises all boats for all workloads on a PC.
Fair enough. Okay. That pretty much exhausted my questions. Anything else you wanted to talk about while we're here?
No, I mean, look, I think that Computex for us has been a absolute whirlwind on both the desktop side and the notebook side of bringing great new capabilities and functionality into both of those spaces.
Sure.
We're really excited about what our OEM partners are doing with the Ryzen AI 300 series processors and the designs that you're going to see in the very, very near future. And then I think for all those desktop enthusiasts out there, those 9000 series desktop processors are going to be absolutely awesome for everything they want to do as well. So
Excellent. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
thank you for coming by.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Mark Hockman again from PC World, and keep it tuned to PC World's YouTube channel and at PCWorld.com for more of what's coming out of Computex.